All right, so we defined what medical missionary work is, and we saw the need. That's why God is saying every member of the church should take hold to medical missionary work. Are we together? Okay. Which work has been committed to the church before Christ left for heaven and he promised that I will come back? The work that was committed to the church. Sorry? To preach the message, to teach the message. All right. Okay, that's fine. So the work that Christ committed to his church before he went to heaven is medical missionary work. Do we know that?
Yes.
Hello? It is the medical missionary. So medical missionary work is it's broad, like we started yesterday, right? Unfortunately, it's being limited to a certain aspect of it. Are we together? So we said anything that brings relief, and the whole idea why we are doing that is so that we point men to the men on Calvary. So that's what we pretty much covered yesterday. Then we looked at that. I promised to say we are going to take a very simple approach, right? Like I'll mention, we are going to take a bias now towards the disease aspect. Are we together? So now when I will be saying medical missionary, I'm now referring to what? For the bias we are now taking is towards disease management. Are we together? But we defined what medical missionary is. It's not only confined to that, but the bias we are now taking more of that route because that's where we see the greatest challenge. Are we together? Yes, so I think we understand each other there. So for us to understand that, we need to really understand that what is the source. When we are now dealing with the sick, there is a big work there, but we can simplify it. Yesterday we learned that the book Ministry of Healing is the what? Is the wisdom of the great physician. So today we are going to go through that and see how practically we can approach disease and how do we manage it so that we will be able to practice it as we go home. Don't ever think we are going to use big words. Big words are there to confuse people. Are we together? If we read chapter 29 of this book, the opening paragraph, let me read it for you. The opening chapter of chapter 29 or 30, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so it's chapter 30. It says, the gospel is a wonderful simplifier of life's problems. So what is the purpose of the gospel? Is to simplify. Are we together? Yes. So God's methods are very simple. Unfortunately, we do what? We complicate them. Are we together? But for us to understand, I want to just consider one or two things. Then we cover something here. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. I promised you yesterday. Now we want to look at the science of healing. What is the science of what? The science of healing. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel chapter 47. Ezekiel chapter 47, you read it from verse 1, but let's maybe read up from verse 7. Ezekiel chapter 47. Let's read verse 9 up to verse 12, but you can it starts actually on verse 1, right? But let's read on verse 9 and verse 12. Up to verse 12, 9 up to 12.
Verse 9.
Yes.
And it shall come to pass that everything that liveth, which moveth, wheresoever the river shall come,
yes,
shall live. And there shall be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters shall come thither. For they shall be healed, and everything shall live whither the river cometh. 10. And it shall come to pass that the fishers shall stand upon it from Engedi even unto an Eglaim. There shall be a place to spread forth nets. Their fish shall be according to their kind, as the fish of the great sea, exceeding many. 11.
Yes.
But the merry places thereof and the marshes thereof shall not be healed. They shall be given to salt. And by the river upon the bank thereof on this side and on that side shall grow all trees for meat, whose leaves shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his months, because their waters they issued out of the sanctuary, and the fruit thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine.
Okay, thank you. The waters that bring healing, where do they come from? They're coming from where? We are told wherever this water will go, there shall be healing. Whatever it comes in contact with it, it shall be healed. But what is the source? Verse 12, where are these waters coming from? The last part, because they are waters, they are issued out of the sanctuary. Where are these waters that wherever it goes, there is healing? It's coming. Sorry?
You pray for the water.
You pray for the water?
Yeah.
Okay. The waters are issued. The illustration here, remember I mentioned, if you read Testimonies for the Church, volume 6, this is a clear illustration of the work of a sanitarium. So it's now teaching us that where is the source of healing? The source of healing is saying, you know what, it's coming out of there is a river that is flowing from the sanctuary. Remember yesterday we said medical missionary work is an extension of the work that is happening in the most holy place. Are we together, church? All right. So, and everything shall live whither the river cometh, and because their waters, they are issued out of the sanctuary. So, there is no healing unless the water is issued from the sanctuary. Are we clear there? All right. Let's go. And remember I said we want to understand the science of healing. We are going to come to the how part. But before we come to the how, we have to understand this particular science. So the sanctuary is the headquarters for God's healing work. If you are interested in healing, come to the sanctuary. If you want to witness the healing of the sickness, you have to come to the sanctuary. That's where we see God performing the healing work. Are we together? Okay, so if you want to participate in this week, in this work particularly, we need to be connected with whatever is happening in this sanctuary. So what is it that flows from the sanctuary? What is this that we are saying? These are the healing waters. Do you know what, brothers and sisters, that in the world out there, there are people who know herbs better than we can do. Do you know that? There are people who can do massage better than we can do. There are people who can do hydrotherapy more than we can do. But where is the difference? Are we together? What brings the difference from someone who is just an ordinary person but knows to do these things, and you as a medical missionary? What brings that uniqueness? What unique feature that is associated with this work? It is because we understand the source of healing. It is not about pretty much about what I have done. If we have time maybe for testimonies, sometimes you don't even know what to do, and God can just direct you to something. Not that He just want to show you that I am the source of healing. I've had many patients who have come to me and said, you know what, I've got this particular condition, and I was told to use such and such a herb. And for sure that herb is known to do that, but there's nothing that happened. So, no, the herb that we are given, it actually works for that. But true healing, it comes from God. And there are steps that we need to take. So at the end of it all, you can also even prescribe that same, but now you have taken a person in the correct process, and there's what? There is results. So this is something that we have to take into consideration, that it's in as much as we are going to do all we can, but we have to understand what is the source of that healing. So we are going to discuss that a bit. So what is medical missionary? Medical missionary work, as we defined yesterday, I'm just be adding on more thoughts, but today I said I'm leaning more on disease management. Are we together? Okay, so in the disease management, we are saying medical missionary work is bringing men to the river of life. I've heard people to say, so and so they treat, so and so they treat, we don't. Our duty is to bring people to the river of life. The source of healing is God. So your duty and my duty is to take a patient and lay them at the feet of Christ. Are we together? Yes. That's why we can't boast to say we treat this particular condition. I still remember back there in Zim, we had helped some. Okay, understand my terminology. We have helped. Are we together? Okay, people who had kidney disease, kidney failure rather. Kidney failure is one of the difficult conditions, right? Yeah, if someone is eGFR is below 15, it's a done deal. Are we together? Basically, there's no hope of recovery. It's just management. Go for dialysis until you are gone. So it's one of the very difficult conditions. But like I'm going to share with you the source of healing. There's no limit to the power of God. Are we together? Yes. But we have to understand that particular science now. So these people come and we assisted them in the process that we are also going to be discussing. So they did recover. So people start calling. We heard that you cure kidney diseases. What do you do? Or kidney failure. Someone calling you. We heard that you cure kidney failure. What do you do? You deny. Okay, she's saying you deny. What do we do? Yes. You point them to the healer. Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. These are questions I'm trying to pose for your mind, because these questions you are going to meet them. Okay. We heard you as medical missionaries, you cure so and so. You cure these particular conditions, you cure, and it has brought, it has actually affected medical missionaries, because now we are now result oriented. We want the results because people have known us to say, because we heard that you cure. So what we are now doing, we are now result oriented. So we are taking whatever it takes for us to achieve the results. Are we together? Yeah. But now we have to go back to the what? To the basics and understand. So we are saying medical missionary work in the context of disease management is bringing a person to the source of healing. The healing is not in us. Are we together? Okay, so we are bringing people so that they can find a restoration. All right, now let's understand this. Let's just take our Bibles and we get these things right. We get into our disease approach section. Now we want to read some few texts in just some few minutes to get this concept right. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 8 verse 16 and 17. Someone to open Numbers 21. Someone to open Exodus chapter 15, and someone to open Exodus chapter 17. I think with those texts we'll be able to go. Someone to read, we said what? Matthew 8 verse 16 and 17.
Verse 16?
Yes.
When the even was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils. And he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were sick. Okay, so on verse 16, are we noticing something here? What did we notice on verse 16? Verse 16, it tells us of the power of God. Let me say, it tells us of the limitless power of God. How many sicknesses is God able to heal from, people from?
Oh, it is in the medical literature. In the medical literature, we more than half of the diseases, they are incurable. And the cause is unknown. Basically, the cause is unknown, and much of these particular diseases, they are incurable, or some of them are termed, given a good name, degenerative, meaning to say there's nothing that we can do. It's just eating up you slowly till it digs a grave for what? For you. So, but in the dictionary of God, there's no incurable disease. But in the finite mind, there are incurable diseases. But when we taper in the knowledge of God, there's no disease that is called incurable. So in verse 16, it tells us of the power of God. And this is the God we worship. A God who is able to cure all disease. When I mean all, I mean all. Are we together? Yes. That's the good thing about this work. So even if a person comes with a kidney failure, right? Like recently, the other lady just called, like I've mentioned, and said my husband has got kidney failure, and his EGFR is around 5. Recently, I think some 2-3 weeks ago, and they stay a bit near us. So she's called and said, "We heard that you help people with this particular condition." So for me, I know that this condition, even from a natural point of view, right, looking at the natural herbs and everything else, even literature that has been written on kidney failure, usually all lift their hands up to say this is a difficult condition, right? But what do you do when you know that there's God in heaven who knows no limit? What are you going to do? To take the person to the Lord. Are we together? To say, we are going to do, this is my response, we are going to do whatever the Lord calls us to do. We leave the results with who? With God. And clearly I state, this only needs an infinite power. Whether the person is an Adventist or is an non-Adventist, that has to be clear. This is a work of God. It can only be God who is able to restore this particular condition, right? So why is because we are coming from a perspective that it is God who heals. Are we together? So verse 16, it tells us of the power of God. But verse 17, it tells us of the cost for God to exercise that power. That's where our story is today. What is that cost? The Bible is clear that He Himself, He took our infirmities and bare our sicknesses. So how does Christ remove sickness? The same way that Christ takes away sin is the same way that He takes away sickness. In John chapter 1 verse 29, it says that what? When John saw Christ, he says, "Behold the Son of God, that taketh away the sin of the world." That same word or that same phrase, "taketh away," is the same phrase. So so how does Christ remove sickness? He bears it. He taketh away. So for Him to be the Savior, He has to take away the sin. For Him to be the physician, He has to take away the sickness. Therefore, there's no healing unless Christ does the transaction of exchanging His life that has no sickness to your life that has got sickness. That's why when Christ healed that lady, remember that lady in chapter 8 of Luke, verse 46. He said, someone has touched me. And what was the reason? Why did He say that someone has touched me? Because He said, I perceive virtue has gone out of me. So whenever Christ performs a healing act, something goes out of Him. He was not lying. He meant it. Why? Because for every healing to take place, there is a transaction that has to happen. So as it is in the transfer of sin, so it is in the transfer of sickness. Are we together? Now let's just look at 3 case studies, then we are done on this part. I've given you 3 texts in the book, in the Old Testament. Numbers, let's start with Numbers. Numbers chapter 21. If you read it from verse 1 to verse 8, it's talking about the children of Israel whilst they are in the wilderness. But we want to focus on verse 7. What does verse 7 say? Verse 7 and verse 8. Quickly, verse 7 and verse 8. We want to understand the signs of healing. The signs of healing. Verse 7 and verse 8. Okay, I thought people have opened them already. Verse 7, yes.
Therefore the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against thee.
Yes.
Pray unto the Lord that he take away the serpent from us. And Moses prayed for the people. Verse 8. And the Lord said unto Moses, make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live.
Okay, so here is a crisis. People have been smitten by the fiery serpents. And they actually, if we read the Bible, it says many people actually died out of this experience, right? But those that lived, what was the solution to their problem? How were they healed?
Look and live.
Looking and live. To look to where?
Serpent.
To the brass and what? If the Bible was only written and it ended in the Old Testament, probably would have just said that was so simple, right? Okay. As we come to the book of John, chapter 3, verse 14, what does the Bible say? As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so shall the Son of Man be what? So what provided healing when the people were bitten by the fiery serpents? The snake on the brazen lifted up, right? What was that? So we are saying there's no healing unless the Son of Man hangs on the cross. Are we together, church? So that illustration was to say, okay, the source of healing, it is Christ. And why Christ? Why did they use the snake? Romans chapter 8, verse 3. So Christ caused God who knew no sin to be made what? Sin. That he can redeem men in that nature. So that was the object lesson. What happened there? It was an object lesson for you and for me to understand where healing comes from. So it now qualifies us as medical missionaries to assume our right position. Let God take his position as a healer. And as a medical missionary, I need to know in this plan of healing, where do I fit in? The unfortunate part is we have also assumed the role of God, and we have also taken the things we use to be the source, whereas the source is God himself. Are we together there? Okay. Now the other case study, I'm shortening this up because we want to, I said today want to cover quite a lot. Let's read the other text in the same. Okay, we're not in Exodus now. We're in Numbers. We are now in Exodus, right? Exodus chapter 15. We know the story. The children of Israel, again, they're in the wilderness. There is a crisis. They've gone 3 days. There's no water. Let's read verse 25. But you can start from verse 22. You can read from verse 25 now. Verse 25. What was the solution to the bitter waters? 3 days they've gone out without water. Lo and behold, they see something there which was like water. They went there, they drank. Lo and behold, it was what? It was Mara. Are we together? Okay. Let's read verse 25. What does it say?
And he cried unto the Lord.
Yes.
And the Lord showed him a tree.
Okay.
Which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. Then he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them.
Okay.
6.
Read the last part of verse 26.
There he made them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved
verse 26.
them.
Verse 26.
26. And said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt to do that which is right in his sight, and wilt give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I'll put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, from the Lord that healeth thee.
Okay, do you know what? A certain lady just a few weeks ago texted me, says, I've been reading chapter 15 and it looks like there's a disconnection between the texts. Did you see where verse 25 ended? It was talking about the restoration of the waters that were what? Bitter. And soon after it says, no, if thou would diligently. Right? It talks about the diligence in obeying the laws of God and the voice of God, and God making a promise, I will put none of these diseases. Which are there no solutions?
Okay.
Unfortunately, the so-called solutions are Mara. The problem was water, and they found water. But the water was the problem, and they found a source of water. But unfortunately, that which was supposed to be a solution is also bitter. Okay, put a pause on that. 46 Jeremiah chapter 46 verse 11 says, "O thou virgin daughter of what? Jerusalem, thou shalt use many medicines and you shall not be healed." Is it not the current situation? Where people are using a lot of medications and there's no healing. And the word is saying we are giving. Are we together? If you read from Medical Ministry page 120, I'll paraphrase it. I think it's from the first paragraph. It comments about this incident. It actually says it was not by chance that God led the children of Israel into the wilderness and led them actually to the Mara point. But here there's a lesson. Maybe let me just pick one statement there. There's a paragraph that I want on that quotation. Okay. Looks like it has gone off here. For us to understand what it means, let me pick that quotation, the last part of the quotation, so that you. All right, I want that last part. All right, it was not by chance that in their journey, the children, I've given you the page, right? That's Medical Ministry, page 120. It was not by chance that in their journey, the children of Israel came to Mara. He it was who put into the tree the properties which sweetened the water. Who put the properties in the tree to sweeten the water?
God.
So the healing virtues are not in ginger. It is God who put the virtues in ginger for it to perform its work. Are we together?
Yes.
Christ is the great physician, not only of the body but of the soul. God permitted his only begotten Son to be bruised, that healing properties might flow forth from him to cure all our diseases. So it is the Christ who permitted his only Son to be what? Bruised. So that this quotation is commenting on that incident. That's why you see the next verse, it now gives a promise. So God is saying the same way I've healed the waters is the same way I heal you. So how were the waters healed? Something had to be broken. And the quote here is saying, unless it is God who allows his only Son to be bruised so that the healing virtues can be communicated. In the Bible we are told, how are we healed? How are we healed? Isaiah 53 verse 6. By his stripes are we what? Healed. So the source of healing, it is in Christ. Let me say the source of healing is in the death and the life of Christ. That's why we are told the object of Medical Missionary is to point the sin-sick soul to the man of Calvary. So what is our duty? Our duty is to communicate that is to bring people to the feet of Christ so that they can be healed. Back to our story, then we close this our first section. We read from the book of Ezekiel. What was happening in the book of Ezekiel? Remember this vision that Ezekiel saw? The waters were at the what? At the ankles, right? And he was told to do what? To move. And the waters were what? At the what? at the knees, and he was also told to move again, and the waters came to the what? To the loins, up to a point that he couldn't what? He couldn't pass. Are we together? So if you continue with that comment I was saying on chapter, actually it comments about Sanitarium work. It's a long part. You can look for it. It's 60, right? What it says is, when we say healing comes from God and what is our duty, it points to what was happening in the story of Ezekiel. The more of the love of God we contain depends on our usefulness in this work. How much of the Spirit, how much of the love of God we have in this work depends on our effectiveness. Are we together? So, unfortunately, sometimes we are running around with cups which are empty, and we want to do this work. We have nothing to offer. Are we together, church? So, remember yesterday we read that this work depends on the religion of the physician. Now, so, one of the things, let me read this quotation. I'm skipping so that I keep up with time, right? I'm skipping other slides in my head. The power of love was in all Christ's healing. I need to read the other one, then I think I can make my conclusion statements there. All right. Ministry of Healing, page 148. Through direct contact, through personal ministry, the blessings of the gospel are to be communicated. So, what will bring the healing? It is the love of God that is in us that we are going to communicate to our patients. That's why many people are not willing to do this work because they say it's taxing. Are we together? Why that taxing part? Because it's not only about the procedure you are doing, but it's the love that is in you. Remember the Pharisees, they would cross seas and go up, but only to make people as twice as evil as they were. So you can only reproduce who you are. So if we have got the love of God in us, we are going to communicate it to what? To our patients. So in closing to this section, we are saying, brethren, it is about the love of God that we are going to communicate to our patients. When we point them to the source of healing, that is our only hope. Are we together? Okay. Now, there is a mistake that is also happening nowadays, where we have heavily mechanicalized medical missionary work. Did you get it? Where we are making sure that contact, we have limited the contact and let the machines do the work. They don't want the machines, they want you. Are we together? So why are we going to do, as you are doing this work, let me give you one example. We're talking about kidney failure. One of the procedures that we do for kidney failure is to do a neutral bath with activated charcoal. You soak them for about 2 to 3 hours. And when you are doing hydrotherapy, you are not allowed to leave a patient there and go and WhatsApp out there. So what are you doing for the next 2-3 hours? Sitting and talking, discussing. That's why people tell you about what's really happening in their life. One gentleman said, I've flown to countries, I've gone to places, I've been attended by professionals, but I've never seen such a treatment where a person sits with me for 2 good hours.
Where a physician sits with me.
Sorry?
The physician sits with me, the patient, for 2 good hours.
For 2 good hours. Okay. Where? Here.
I'm commenting on what you're saying.
Okay. So, this man literally said, I've never seen this love in my life. So So what I'm trying to say is, so God has made it that way, that we have more time. Many people ask, so why can't we just, someone is asking, so why can't we just pray for a person and the person gets healed? Why is the process gradual? It is giving us ample time with the patient, that we communicate that love that God has put in us. So we are saying the greater mistake we do is we want to do this work, but our cups are empty. It is how much of God we allow in our life that will give us, will make us to be effective in this work. So if I am empty, never attempt to be near a patient. You will do more harm than good. So may God bless us and be with us. I've tried to summarize 3 lessons in these few minutes. Any questions on this? I was trying to put this together so that we understand the science before we get into the how part of how we deal with the diseases. Any questions on our introduction? What really provides the healing? What we are now talking about are the agencies. The source of healing should be clear. Yes.
You mentioned that in Numbers they took the branch, they had to break it.
That was in Exodus, yes.
In Exodus?
Yes.
Then that made the water to become sweet?
Yes.
And then you said there's always for healing something needs to be broken.
Something has to be broken, or the Son of Man has to be lifted. Those are the examples we are seeing. Yes. I also forgot chapter 17. I've asked you to open chapter 7. Chapter 17, it talks about, we sing that song, Rock of Ages cleft. From it flows the river that is a double cure. What is to be cleft?
Broken.
And who is that rock? We are told in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, the rock which they drank from represented Christ. So there's all these case studies are proving to us that the source of healing is who? Is Christ.
Psalms what?
That's Exodus 17 verse 4. Exodus 17 verse 4. All right, now we are transitioning. If we have that in mind, I'm covered. Why do I focus on these preliminary aspects? We start to see these challenges in practice. Are we together? And there are many challenges that you are going to encounter. You as the attendant or the medical missionary, these thoughts should be ringing in you. Are we together? Remember, we are told when you have when someone is healed, what is the first thing that you are supposed to do?
Lift up prayer. Pray.
Kneel down with the patient. If the relatives are there, and kneel down right in front of them and praise God. Pray to God and thank God. So that they know that it's not Brother Clemence. Do you know that these days people are praising Brother? If you go to Brother Clemence, he sorts all things. Yeah. Are we together? That's not us. So may God help us and be with us. Now, let's switch over to our approach for disease. So, when dealing with sickness, what do we need to do? Let's open our Ministry of Healings. That's where we are going to start from. But I'm going to give you just some few steps here, so that we get to the to discuss the technicalities involved and how God has simplified for us. Now, we are dealing with sickness. Any type of sickness, the approach is the same. We are going to study those particular principles. So chapter 8, for this class, we are going to focus today's class, chapter 8, chapter 17, and we are going to use the book called Healthful Living, the chapter called Predisposing Causes to Disease. So these are the 3 chapters that we are going to focus on. So chapter 8, chapter 17, we go to the book Healthful Living. All right. So the guiding principle is coming from this quotation, chapter 8. All right, it reads, restorative power in nature. The only hope for better things is in the education of people in right principles. What is the only hope of better?
Educating the vision.
Better things. Education. Medical. Remember, we said the first chapter. We said medical missions in the work was teaching and. If we can do a greater job, is when we as medical missionaries are educators. Did you get that right?
Yes.
So the only hope for better things, that word, underline it. It's only hope for better things is in the education of people in right habits. The next statement, let physicians teach the people that restorative power is, okay, before I leave this quotation, in the Bible, in Hosea chapter 4 verse 6, what does it say? My people perish because of what? Not lack of medicines. No, it did not say that. People are dying because they lack education. Education in what? In the right habits of living. Are we together? All right. Then the next one says, let physicians teach the people that restorative power is not in drugs but in nature. Now, let me also come back here. We are going to do this work most successfully as we just, be like copycats. The moment we just follow as God has mentioned it, it's going to save us. One of the other challenges is we have formulated our own statements and quotations. Hello? People argue, especially in medical missionaries, doctors are not our enemies, they are our good friends. And I will tell you how we can be friends with those people. Are we together? They are not our enemies, they are our friends. Hello? Yes. But sometimes we have created enemies with them, but sometimes it's because we have cooked and created our own statements. There's a quotation that says that, is this the same one? That people need to be taught that drugs do not cure disease. How do we normally read that statement? People need to be taught that drugs do not what? People don't say cure disease, they say cure. People need to be taught that drugs do not what? When you argue that drugs do not cure disease, you are arguing but using a wrong statement. It says people need to be taught that drugs do not cure what? Disease. If they can cure something, but not what? You now define what disease is. Any physician cannot debate with you on that. So let's define what disease. Does drugs do this? Do they attend to this? But if we say don't cure, it's a statement that is what? Incomplete. The quantifying statement there is the disease. What? That's why it now takes time to explain what disease is. So what is disease? Disease is an effort of nature to do what? To free itself from the conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. So can drugs do this? So your key word there is what? Disease. Are we together? Now it says, in case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Sickness, we are dealing with a patient here. So what's the first step? What's the first step?
Find the cause.
The cause should be ascertained. Are we together? Okay. Unhealthy food conditions should be changed. Wrong habits corrected. Then, what does then mean?
Only after this.
Only after this. That's why I was telling people, say, I don't know here if you have it, blood, there's blood root and there's bloodwood. Do you know bloodwood? Bloodwood. Okay. Several people have called and said, we've been referred to you guys. I've got an eye problem. I was told with someone to use bloodroot. the blood wood, when you cut it or make a cutting into it, it oozes out a resin. If you collect that resin, right, it dries up. It actually dries up, then you can grind it into fine powder. If you drop into the eye, it melts the cataracts instantly. It doesn't wait for tomorrow. It does it what? Instantly. Blood wood. If you make a cutting onto the trunk, it oozes out the blood.
And a tree or a seed?
The blood wood.
The tree is called blood.
It's called blood.
It oozes out that what? Resin. So person, because I've got a cataract, I've been told to use blood wood, and I've used it and it has not what?
Worked.
Why isn't it worked? Because here we are told the steps to follow. Are we together? So it's only after we have done these things, then we can assist nature. Now we are looking at, okay, someone is having a congested chest, they now need some expectorants. So garlic has got expectorant properties. So therefore to enhance, let's use what? But even if you have not used the garlic, the body will find its way. It can just be slow, but it will expel. But for you to help and assist, you say, no, let's look for something that has got expectorant, that's what we call expectorants. Are we together? To help to expel. Unfortunately, on the other hand, people are also quick to grab. Maybe, for example, what if someone has got flu? Usually, what's prescribed?
In the hospital.
For in the conventional. So someone has got flu. Okay, what does it do? What's the mechanism of it?
Slows you down.
It's an expectorant.
Okay, it's an expectorant. Okay.
The first heading is what?
Predisposing causes.
Yes.
Satan is the originator of disease.
So the first thing, Satan is the originator of disease. Are we together?
Yes.
There is a divine appointed connection between sin and disease. Sin and disease bear to each other the relationship of cause to effect and effect. I was telling other people, you know, I've heard some cases, quite a number of cases of patients. One at the time I was, there's a musical group that had asked me to be presenting, I think it was on a Tuesday. So what they would do usually, they would exchange presenters for other topics. So they asked me, we want you to be consistent with us every Tuesday. So it forced me to be in that group. Other presenters was just one lesson, they come in, after the lesson they do what? So there were a lot of discussions that were happening in that group. So usually they would start to hit my inbox. And they'll say, no, there's someone who is having this particular condition. What can you use? You meet these questions. What should we use? And when they are saying what should we use, what do you think they are referring to?
Something to drink.
And others, they give you a clue. I'm having a headache, should I drink cayenne pepper? Already they know they are what? They are remedy there. Are we together? Yeah. You meet these questions. But because there is a process according to God, don't jump that.
Yeah.
To cut the long story short, this lady, she was asking on behalf of a gentleman. But when we discussed and discussed and discussed, because I did not just jump and say, just use that, even though I knew that this condition needs A and B. Sometimes we are tempted to just say, just go and use that. And people will say, we tried, it does not work. For sure it will not work. Because the healing is not in actually that. The healing is committed, but we have to cooperate with God. With what he has what?
Said.
Lo and behold, I put her into a corner and said, no, the way you are describing these things looks like you've seen it. How come did you see the genitals of a... I said, no. I said, no, the way you're describing it is someone who's seen it. Yes, he sent me a picture. I said, no. How can he send you a picture? His girlfriend said, no. I know, but you're like... Then we started to corner each other. Up to a point, she so now there's no option. She had to open up, and they were sexually engaged. Unfortunately, it was the lady had a fungal infection, but she didn't know. So she was the one who actually passed it to the gentleman. Unfortunately, she is an Adventist, the gentleman is not. So what is your prescription? Cayenne pepper. What's your prescription? What's your prescription? Thank you. But does that make sense? A person wants cayenne. But they are into sin. Number one is an unbeliever. So I can put today's determined about how my mother was putting the oil. Are we together? So sometimes people would want to, but let's put the things in their right perspective. Now let's move on. Impure air. Impure air. The effects produced by living in closed, ill-ventilated rooms are these. Let me tell you. It is good to take people at centers. I've seen its advantages and also its disadvantages. I have sometimes visited patients in their homes. You will see there's no way they will recover. The rooms which the patient is stuffed. It's loaded. It's like a bus with a carrier. The bedroom is full. They can't open the windows, and how does the patient recover? No way. So when you are dealing with the disease now, you have to look at the environment they are in. We are told here, impure air produced by living in closed, ill-ventilated rooms are these. The system becomes weak and unhealthy. The circulation is depressed. Many of the conditions is because the blood circulation has been hindered. When we are actually saying we want to help someone to recover, what you're actually trying to do is to normalize your hydrotherapy sessions. The intention is to normalize the circulation, because it is in the blood that we have got the nutrients, we have got the oxygen that supplies life. We're talking to I think Brother Martin was letting something in here of she was being they were drawing drawing the blood for some blood I think for some blood test or something. Then the nurse forgot. She left the rubber band here. It was tight. It was tight. She forgot, and the mother, because she's in the rural places, just so they know what they are doing. If I remove, maybe I've caused more harm to my child. When the physician came and saw the hand was becoming blue, right? And that is lack of what? Oxygen. Are we together? When they removed, they condemned the hand, and the child was actually amputated. He was telling me it happened here in Katape. So what's the thing there? It's what? It has been starved of what? Of oxygen. Right? So whenever a part is not really reaching oxygen, it can result in pain or death. So what is causing this? It's just the impure air. So before you think about writing ginger, cayenne pepper, think about these things. Because this is what we are told, that they are the predisposing causes. Are we together? Alright, so it talks about that. The mind becomes depressed and gloomy. Maybe we're not talking about mental cases, but it's very important in mental cases. Those people who are easily irritable, check their sleeping environments. Are we together? You have to look at this particular thing. Why the whole system is innervated, and fevers and other acute diseases are liable to be generated. What are acute diseases? We have chronic, we have acute. Acute means what?
That take long to...
Sorry?
That take long.
Acute.
Yes.
Chronic is the ones that take long.
Oh, sure.
Short term. Are we together? All of a sudden, I'm not feeling what? So the moment you know these predisposing causes, right, as you're talking to a person, don't be too quick to suggest. No. Make sure, but you are evaluating all these factors. I want to say this to you, that for some patients, I've not prescribed any herbal remedy. There are stroke patients who have recovered without a single herbal remedy. Just we addressed that these little things in their life, and it brought a change. And they recovered completely. Are we together? So we have to look at these particular dynamics. And okay, imperfect breathing. Stomach, liver, lungs, and the brain are suffering from want of deep, full inspirations of air. Have you ever studied the chapter physiology in the book of I was disappointed when I read the book Education. When I saw a chapter of physiology, I said, yes, this is the thing I was been looking for now. Lo and behold, I was disappointed. What do you see in that chapter? Have you ever read it? The chapter of physiology in the book Education. It's in the book Education. It talks about how you sit, how you sing. Is that physiology?
Yes.
I heard people say, Brother Clemence, can you give us the sources where we can learn anatomy and physiology? I struggle. Because I know people are looking for those. But for me, when I read physiology, it's still, even today, I'm struggling. You know, but now I've understood the science. Why does God, who knows everything, when he talks about physiology, talks about how we sit and how we sing? And how we sleep. Why? He is the great physician. He knows, this. We try to explain. People want the textbook, Ganong and what have you. They are good, but they should actually come after if we study these things. This is the thing we should, what? Because the stomach, the liver, the lungs, and the brain are suffering from the want of deep and full inspirations. Let me ask you here. Let's stand up and see if we are able to breathe. We may talk of others, but here can be a challenge. Let's stand up and do the exercise. Then we are going to see the issues. All right. One hand on the chest, the other one on the tummy. And we want to do this exercise, breathing in and out. So I'll give you instructions. Then I'll ask some few questions later on. Let's breathe in, out. Okay, let's do it again. In, out. Relax. Question. When we are breathing in, which direction is the hand on the tummy going? Is it going in or it's going out?
Out. Which direction? Sorry. What's the question?
We were not aware. Let's do it again.
Okay, thank you. I want you to observe the hand that is on the tummy, on the stomach. Which direction is it going? Is it coming in or it's going out? Let's breathe in. In, out. In, out. Now, who is confident with the answer? Yes?
It's going in.
Out.
Okay, it's going in.
Out. Going out.
Breathing in, going out.
Okay.
Breathing in, it's going.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going out.
Okay.
Mine is so moving. On the stomach.
Okay.
Chest out.
It's going out.
On the stomach it's going in. On the stomach, on the chest out. Okay. Yes. I mean, okay. I want you to be confident with the answer. Which way? You are saying chest out
Chest
and
out.
stomach in. Let me see your hands. Okay. We are saying chest in, stomach out. Okay. Now, when we are breathing in, what are we doing? Are we putting in air? We are putting out air.
We are putting in.
So if you blow air into the balloon, what happens?
It deflates. It expands.
So the diaphragm is moving out and it pushes the stomach out. So when we are saying breathing in, most of you are taking air out. Because the stomach is getting in. So what you are doing is, when I say breathe in, you are saying, and science tells us that 90% of asthmatics, they are mouth breathers. You don't breathe with the mouth. You breathe with the nose. That's why our nose are ciliated to moisten the air. So now we want to do the exercise again.
So you're saying?
Mouth closed.
All right.
We breathe with the nostrils.
Understood.
So, and when I say breathe in, don't lift these things. Already you are taking air out. Right? Breathe through the nose. Are we together? So the quotation is saying, many are suffering because these organs are in want of deep and full inspiration. When we are saying we are breathing out. And we read that there's no cancer cell proliferation that happens in highly oxygenated blood. So why are you having thousands and thousands of cancers? It tells you that there is what? Oxygen carrying capacity is what? It's actually going low. Are we together? Okay, now let's do it. Relax. In, out. Let's do it again. In, out. Okay. What's happening?
Yeah.
Sorted.
Sorted.
Thank you. Now, okay, let's sit down. The best treatment for a cold, get me right? The best treatment for a cold, number one, is to do deep breathing exercise. Repeat these sessions for 20 to 40 times. What you have done before remember the things that really cause the colds and your flus, the virus, they are there in your nostrils, right? So they'll be trying to push down the throat and get into the lungs. That's why you see, you start with a coffee or a flu that is better. That is better. It gets worse. What's happening is the bacteria or whatever that causes it, it's finding its way down into the respiratory tract. And what it wants to do, actually it wants to reach to the end. So it makes it more difficult. And so when you do that breathing exercise, what you are doing, that air that you are putting in and out, it pushes the viruses and whatever causes it out. And you never have a cold. If you feel you want to have a cold, the first things you can do is the deep breathing exercise. And is that expensive? Just make sure that it's at least 20 to 40 times. Then it's sorted. Or you just walk a distance equivalent to about 5 kilometers. You go, you come back, the cold is gone. That's the best way to prevent it and to deal with just when it wants to come. Are we together? Okay. So that's now indoor life. This is serious. Indoor life. Close confinement indoors makes women pale and feeble and results in premature death. What does pale mean? Paleness is one of the cardinal signs for anemia. It tells us why most women are anemic. They stay indoors the longest of their day. Are we together? So now, when you are dealing with the anemics, usually it's high iron rich foods. Are we together? But here we are told that what makes more women pale, if God was to put the causes in order, the first one is indoor life. And most of our ladies these days, what they know how to do the most is the remote. They do the house chores if they are doing it. After that, they sit on the television. I'm not talking to you. I don't think we are part of the crew, right? And they do what? Where are they doing it?
Inside.
So do you see that country living is actually helping you women not to be pale or to be anemic? To be specific, we are saying anemic. If you now look at the science of it, for blood to actually be produced, right, it needs an oxygen unit to be at the center. So if you don't have sufficient oxygen that is really circulating in your body, then you have your what? Low blood volume in your system. Even if you are transfused, continually the cycle repeats. Are we together? So here we are told most women are pale because of close confinement. So when patients do come, especially for anemics, let me give another one. One of these young ladies had a severe, she was severe on anemic, on the HB levels, and should go for transfusions more often. And the mother was worried, what is it? She has tried this, she has tried that. When she came, we just saw where there's a problem on this lady's on dressing. We just addressed the dressing and the HB level started to go up. What's the signs? Hemoglobin. Okay, when we're talking about anemia, we're looking at the HB part of it, right? Okay, so, and okay, because if I say bloodless, sometimes it's not really like it's the blood volume. Okay, all right. So what's the science here? So on the prescription, the first thing to the instruction is to teach how to dress well. Is the great one. That's the wisdom of the great physician. Are we together? Okay. Let me rush. I said if we can't finish, I'll give you as homework. Improper diet. This is big. We may not be able to cover this. Okay. Indulging in. Okay. Let me skip it for now. Stimulants. This is a serious issue. Right. Look at the different stimulants. What they do, it is these hateful stimulants that are surely undermining the constitution and preparing the system for acute diseases by impairing nature's fine machinery and battering down a fortification erected against disease and premature decay. It talks about, I just took an extract, but if you continue, it talks about how it affects the nerves, right? Okay, so all stimulants. Which stimulants do we know? Stimulants. Coffee. What's in coffee? That's caffeine. What are the close relatives of caffeine? Nicotine. Where do you find nicotine? Tobacco. Yes. What are the relatives for caffeine? Theobromine. Where do you find it? In chocolates, right? Chocolate has got theobromine and some caffeine. Yes. Cacao. What is in cacao?
That's caffeine.
Theobromine. Okay. In cheese we've got what we call tyramine, right? Yes, which is also related to that. So what food industries are now doing? They are now adding some doses of stimulants to attract their customers. So that customers continue coming to add a stimulant so that they are attracted. When they eat from this other person, it's not nice. You have to, I only eat there, right? So you have to deal with these what? Stimulants, right? Okay. Improper clothing. The fashionable style of women's dress is one of the greatest causes of all these terrible diseases. More die as the result of following fashion than from all other causes. Are we together? Okay. Women especially are the victims of various maladies which might be lessened if not entirely prevented by right habits of life. Half their sufferings may be attributed to their manner of dress, the insane desire to conform to the fashions of the world. These are predisposing causes. And even to men, I see sometimes people say, no, it's not cold, so they'll be wearing shorts, I don't feel the cold. Okay, the issue is not about the cold, it's about you covering and maintaining the circulation. I'm going to come to why circulation is important there. Overeating, I've mentioned, it's better to overwork than to overeat, whether in quality or in quantity. Are we together? Okay. This one, it has got many causes, many issues. Exposure to cold, right? Exposure to cold. So sometimes people, okay, there's a difference between fresh air and a draft. Do we know that? There is a difference. Draft is not good at all. It weakens, it affects your circulation, it weakens your immune system. Alright. Damp rooms. As we are advocating for country living, never build your houses in dampy areas. Are we together? I like this area, it drains well. There back in Zimbabwe, there are people who are at the Westgate area, right? And that area that has got a long chain issue. Most of the people there, they complain with severe lung problems. And we are told from the pen of inspiration. I once had a patient who had aspergilloma, right? It's one of the difficult conditions to treat. Medically, they couldn't attend to it. So when I was doing the history checking, discovered no. I asked it because usually when you see the recurring coughs or lung problems which are recurring, they are not going, you start to check if there are no damp areas around, even the bathrooms, and that's why we are told we need to keep those areas dry and not moist. If you start to see that green lining, start to worry for your lungs. It's a very difficult lung problem, or it causes difficult lung problems that are very difficult to treat. They are even stubborn to medication, right? So this lady, we went through and checked and said, where do you live? Is not that place damp? She said, no. Then she started to relate, oh no, she actually comes from what? From that area. Then there was also another nurse. She was a senior nurse in another city. The father would complain with a nagging cough for a longer time. So we're consulting the mother and the father together. So then she now related that no, the mother was having the same problem. But I don't know this doctrine that when people get old, they separate the bedrooms, right? The grandpa goes that side, the grandmother that side. So when the grandmother transferred from the bedroom which they were using, that nagging cough disappeared. But they didn't know. So when I said it to them, they said, oh, that's why grandma's nagging cough disappeared. Because when grandpa sleeps, there is this green stuff that's there. So most of the times it's not suspected at all, right? But because God opens us, when we are talking to people, dealing with cases now, our understanding of what causes disease is broad. And people start to say, are you a sangoma? How do you come, you know, you are... Because you are asking, so, do you have time? Yes, that's the situation, right? So they start to be shocked. How do you know this? It's because the wisdom of the great... My time, I'm told, it's up. I wanted to say this. There's issues of drugs, right? Go study this chapter, read it. If we've got questions on any of the aspects, we can discuss. Are we together? Then on drugs, remember drugs is now the number 6 killer in America. Not drugs from the misused ones. We are saying prescribed medication is number 6 killer in America today. Right? So we can learn about that, but we have to be balanced in our approach. I think I will talk about that. The condition of the mind during the COVID. The 2 critical things I discovered that were affecting people is the condition of the mind and the condition of the stomach. People who knew that they have got COVID, their prognosis was poor. To patients who didn't know, they were just fighting it's a flu, they recovered. Most of us here were hit by COVID. It's only that you were not told it's COVID. So your ability to fight it was high. I've got a sister, she went and got tested COVID, positive. When she came back from the hospital, she couldn't walk. She went there with her 2 feet, and now she's told you've got COVID, she can't walk. That's how the condition of... So we have to understand, go read the other points there. Then the other one is sick, unhygienic environments, then flesh foods, then there's what you call secret vice. If I've got time, I was going to zero in, especially for male problems that we have today. There's a lot of erectile dysfunction, there's a lot of premature ejaculation. We are told that most of the people have abused themselves or they've been involved in secret vice in their teens and they yield it in their midlife. Usually 35, in their 30s, in their 40s, they start to complain about that. So you have to be wide open. So how do we come together and help? That's the ministry part of it. And we will be able to help people. So I've just given you a challenge. There's a lot in the predisposing. But if you go and read, if you find any point that you want us to discuss together or explain, we are very much able to do that. But what I'm just doing, I'm giving you the resources. We will not do that. We will not cover everything in the few minutes that we have. So what we are empowering each other to say, this is where you get the knowledge. Are we together? So which sections have we read today so that I know you have understood? I've told you three sections. Chapter 8, chapter 17, this is same book, Ministry of Healing. Chapter 14, Healthful Living. Any questions, comment? I'm told my time is up and for sure it's up. All right, thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes, my sister.
When we are trying to ascertain a cause of this management, in terms of emergency,
Yeah, I'm going to come to that. How do you now, that's where we are now knowing the true nature of the condition, right? So how do you go about it? I think that's our next part. Is we understood under the predisposing causes. I know the other causes we know. We can go and read issues of eating, drinking, what. I'm adding to the uncommon ones from the book, Healthful what? Healthful Living, right? So we are going to cover that. Yeah, recognizing red flags or emergencies. That is very key and important, isn't it? Okay. Any other question or comment before we pray and dismiss for today? Was that a lot? I fear that sometimes fast. Okay. Okay, but at least you have the sources, right? That's all right. Shall we pray? Chapter 8, physician and educator. Chapter 17, the use of remedies. The Ministry of Healing. The chapter that's not in Ministry of Healing, it's the book Healthful Living. That's on chapter 14, the predisposing causes to disease. So we are understanding that one line. We are told that in case of sickness, the cause. So we are only on the cause. Are we together? We are understanding how do we understand the cause. Because that's the first step. Then we'll cover to understand the true nature of the diseases. And then maybe we'll then cover the things that we can use to assist what? Assist nature. Then the other things I'll give you where you can find them. I know these ones it can be easy to find. Alright, if there be no other question who is willing to pray for us, as we close. Would you want to pray for us? Any volunteer? Alright.
But maybe before we pray, just to say that looks like lunch is not ready, so when we're done, we can just wait for lunch outside, maybe I don't know for how long, until we're told to have lunch, and then we quickly come back to the tent. Yeah, we can pray.
Okay, thank you.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we'd like to thank you for the time that you've given us to be able to learn from your feet once more. Thank you for the lessons that we're learning. Thank you for all the wisdom that is being shared here. And you help us that the things that we learn here may not just be knowledge that is in their heads, but that you may help us to apply them in our lives in whatever way that you may instruct us to, that we may see fit. As we're breaking for our lunch, pray that you continue to be with us. May you bless the food that will be served and that it may nourish our bodies. But also may you bless the people that are taking time to prepare this food for us. So I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.